Brandon Lewis here. I know all you party people out there. I know who you conservatives are. You're a bunch of, I know you're a bunch of hell raisers. And all of you are gearing up to go out and party hard this weekend because, we are a bunch of right wing extremists here at the Tennessee Conservative, apparently, according to liberal news outlets that talk about our publication when they cover stories we break. And I'm hoping that you're going to cause some mayhem and some mischief. You might hang out with your families, you might go to church, you might knock back a couple of cold beers in your backyard. God forbid. So don't get too crazy on me. Brandon Lewis here with the Tennessee Conservative, and I'm doing this at an odd time, 3:05 in the afternoon on Friday. I meant to do this earlier during the lunch break, but I was interviewing Lee Greenwood about a special project that he's doing, and I hope that you get to watch that. And if you will, put in the comments section where you're watching from. If you're a conservative and you're watching this broadcast, tell me where you're from. Are you from Clark Range, Tennessee, like our media coordinator? Are you from Chattanooga, Saudi Daisy? Are you from somewhere out in Pikeville? Are you in Jackson, Tennessee? Where are you from? Leave it in the comment section. And I'd also encourage you, please, even after this is no longer live, to leave your comments about what you think about these stories as you watch this broadcast, because I do go through all the comments and I like to read them because it's kind of my way of determining what you think about the stories we cover and the topics. So as we cover these topics, if you'll tell me where you're from and where you're listening from, even if you watch this weekend. Kristen, watching from Knoxville, I'm very attached to the name Kristen because that is my wife's name. She spells it with an I, but if you spell it with an E, that's okay. It's okay. So thank you for tuning in. We're going to get into the 7 big stories, okay? This is the big 7, the TennCon big 7, where I go through, I think, what are the biggest 7 stories, or the stories that I find of interest. And a little bit of housekeeping. The first story that we're going to cover, I think many of you should probably reach out to Randy McNally by the time we get through covering this story. Kim, thank you for Middle Valley, Lakeside. Beautiful country up there. Looked at moving there at one point, decided to go up to Signal Mountain as I'm building this house that Joe Biden has apparently made twice as expensive for me, which is fantastic. So we're going to get into these stories with no further ado, and I'll try to respond to you as you go into the comments section here. And I share this with other conservatives, because we do cover stories you will not see covered anywhere else in the way we cover them. So here's the first big one. And this is big. This is big. This deserves a big wind-up. Sexton asks Lee for special session to address school's COVID response. Or, if I really rewrote the title, it would be Sexton asks Lee to stop these out-of-control school boards that are not listening to parents at all. And it's gotten so bad, we're getting national news coverage. National news coverage about people abusing children in Tennessee schools, and the governor won't do anything about it. So Sexton and every single representative, I believe, signed this. So here we go. Tennessee House Speaker Cameron Sexton, big kudos need to go to Cameron, okay? Tell him Brandon Lewis said thank you. Was sent a letter on Wednesday to Governor Bill Lee asking him to call a special session to address COVID-19 responses from the state, school districts, and local governments. The letter was signed by all 73 House Republicans. Compare this to Randy McNally's response. Our kids are in trouble. Parents are angry. We can't get the Senate to come on board. Not because there aren't senators, because I've heard from a lot of them. See this little phone right here? They text me. And they want a special session, but Randy McNally is more worried about his relationship, I suppose, with the governor than your relationship and your child's relationship in education right now, because he should have hopped on board on this. This should not have been in my opinion, it should not be a lukewarm response. Back to the story. We believe that there is a need to curtail the overreach by independent health boards and officials, confirm a parent's right to make decisions. You're from Maryville? Thank you. East Tennessee Republicans. I love East Tennessee Republicans. We believe there's a need to curtail the overreach by independent health boards and officials, confirm a parent's right to make decisions that impact the mental health and the physical health of their children, provide support and direction to schools to ensure educators are properly compensated for COVID-19 leave, and to protect all Tennesseans from misdirected mandates. Why do we have mandates to begin with? We're going to talk about that here in a moment. and designed to limit their ability to make their own decisions. I was going to interview Cameron Sexton. Rhonda, thank you for joining us from Jonesboro. Charles Van Morgan, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you. We got Del Sue Stevens Larson from Loudon. I was going to talk to Cameron Sexton today, and he has graciously agreed to come on the program and speak with us about this very important issue. However, he was traveling in the district, as good elected representatives should be. Tina in Monterey, thank you for joining us. And he couldn't do it. I wanted to do it on video because people watch more than they read. And so I ended up saying, let's do it next week. So I talked with Doug, his right-hand man, and we're going to get that going for y'all. But I was just surprised because, there needs to be a special session because of the tyranny that's going on in our public education system, our government schools, where only, 1 in 4 kids can read at grade level. 1 in 4. It used to be 1 in 3, and they were like ringing the bell. Oh, great. We've got up to 1 in 3. Now it's 1 in 4. But to me, the bigger issue is this. Okay, and I want y'all to chime in on this. Leave your comments. It's about separation of powers. I wrote this op-ed. First op-ed I've ever written for our own publication. Now I can write, but it takes a lot of time, so often I'll do videos instead. And we got a great stable of writers, so I don't have to do as much writing. And I asked Cameron Sexton, in an email, like, when are y'all going to reclaim your co-equal status as a branch of Tennessee government? Because for the last 18 months, I have felt like there's no point for me to vote for a state senator or a state rep, because if I can't get them to weigh in on issues that affect my business and my livelihood and my children and all these mandates and all these restrictions and all this crap that has caused so much economic, educational, religious, and mental health and physical health damage in our state, why am I voting? And why do we have a whole general session where none of these out-of-control executive orders, why did y'all not say, okay, it's not an emergency anymore. 18 months is not an emergency. We know as much as we've ever known. It's now time for good old-fashioned legislation through the Senate, the House, and the executive. That's what we need to live under. It's what we used to live under, not executive fiat. This is a bunch of bull. And Governor Lee should be magnanimous enough, like George Washington was, to say, you know what, I've been declaring all these executive orders without any input from any other branch of government, in many cases completely against what conservative Republicans, who I promised to protect their liberties without any type of apologies in my 10 for 10 campaign promises, and now I'm restricting their liberties at will. He made a lot of promises he has not kept. Now, I want to see the legislative branch get back in there. Sorry, I've been falling down on the job here. We got Kelly from Watertown. We got James from Maryville. We got Jenny Knight Scott on here and Dorothy N. John Amos. I'm also concerned that the executive orders opens the door for firing healthcare workers that have experienced an education because they may refuse the vaccine. There's lots of things to be worried about right now. But at any rate, back to the story. Sorry, too much editorializing here. Several Tennessee school districts voted in recent weeks to have mask mandates start the school year, including Henry County Schools, Shelby County Schools, Metro Public Schools, Williamson County Schools, Nashville, and Hancock counties. Now, to his credit, Cameron Sexton said if they do this BS, which is complete BS, and oh, by the way, just a little note. Shelby County Schools, Metro Nashville Schools, if you think that you've got some kind of expert knowledge that no one else in the state has, well, tell me this. Why do your kids have the poorest performance in the entire damned state? You can't even run day-to-day operations in your schools in a way that educates kids, and now you want to pull this bunk? You stink at your job as it is. Go back to doing what you need to do. Back to the story. Lee's executive orders is number 2. This one's a big one to me. Lee's executive order opens the door for construction of temporary quarantine isolation facilities in Tennessee. I've got a little background on this I'm going to share with you. Some of the stuff you probably won't get anywhere else. Governor Lee, with little fanfare, signed a new executive order on Friday on August 6th, which may be the most bombastic yet, if not downright nefarious. I think this has to be some kind of opinion piece. And that say that and that's saying a lot, considering that last year the governor signed orders issuing lockdowns and calling workers non-essential and adding to encourage churches remain closed. I remember all that. I hope that Tennesseans have a long memory about a lot of Bill Lee's comments during COVID. But Executive Order 83 seems to fall right in line with the plans of the Biden administration to set up the table for Tennessee for a healthocracy, to literally take over state government and completely obliterate human liberties here in our state. And this is from an opinion piece. Number eight. I'll back up here. Here's some of the highlights. Number 8, discretion to utilize the National Guard and State Guard members in connection with certain healthcare and emergency operations. That's not unusual. Telephone assessments for involuntary commitment cases are permitted. Temporary quarantine and isolation facilities may be constructed. Inspection of mental health and substance abuse facilities and services are suspended. Inspection of healthcare facilities are suspended. Now, this mobilization, Dorothy, thank you for joining us, and Anderson, of the National Guard to build these quarantine centers. You know why, Governor Lee? And you've got a spokesperson that sent out a very nasty email that conservatives and Republicans were just off the rocker, and these are a bunch of conspiracy theorists. You know why, Governor Lee, everyone's so damned worried about your executive orders? It's because if you asked people 18 months ago if you'd mask our kids, if you'd set them at home, if you'd shut down businesses, if 24% of small businesses would be run out of business by your policies, if you had asked them all that stuff, then they would have been a conspiracy theorist. But I tell you what, after we've endured what you have put us through for 18 months, and all this soft peddling and illegal immigration and the center you dumped in our area, you know why people, when you issue something like this, they're worried? It's because they've lost trust. Because you've completely strayed from your conservative principles. Now, another thing that might be helpful, and this is closed circuit transmission to whoever writes these executive orders, write them with clearer language and people won't be so damned confused. Now, if this had come through the legislative process, instead of this imperial mandate process, the language would not have been as sloppy. Whoever wrote this is a sloppy writer, and it's confusing to people. And if you don't want people to be confused, write it clear. And if you don't want people to be confused, how about this? How about you quit issuing all these damn executive orders? How about the Senate and how about the House reclaim their rightful place as a co-equal branch of government, and we don't have to deal with all this nonsense. We can have open and honest debate, and our legislative districts can be represented, Governor Lee. How about you let the House and the Senate let their legislative districts be represented? Because I voted for a senator. He's not any good, but I voted for a senator, and I voted for a House member. At least I've got 3 people. The governor, a House member, and a Senate member that can represent me. And this is just a bunch of bunk. Tina, thank you so much for joining us. Kelly, I appreciate you being here. Robert, Chase Matheson, hey, don't forget about the database. I'm sorry, I can't cover it all, Chase. Can't cover it all. All right. State expects Chattanooga illegal alien shelter license to be suspended until fall. I'm telling you, folks. And this is, again, for all of y'all that want this center to be open in Tennessee, if this thing opens up again, I'm going to call all of our subscribers, and I got some other friends. I think we can get some people down there. We're going to have a massive protest. This is a black eye on the Republican Party, and Bill Lee gave it to us. Before this thing opens up again, before y'all open up this illegal immigration center in Chattanooga, if you have intentions to do it in the fall or the winter or wherever you're going to do it, you need to have public discussion about it. You don't need to just dump it in our community quietly, and then Bill Lee acts like he don't know anything about it when he authorized it. It's misleading. It's misleading. A closed shelter in Chattanooga, again, was the focus Thursday. For much of the Tennessee Legislature's study committee, we don't want it studied, we want it stopped. On refugee issues meeting, Tennessee Department of Children's Services Commissioner Jennifer Nichols said the shelter remains under suspension as the Baptiste group appeals its license suspension in Chancery Court. I hope they fail, and I hope the church that gave them the license to do this will find some, or the lease to do this. I hope they'll revoke that lease. And if any of you are members or no members, I think they should get out of the illegal immigration business. I think it's bad look. Back to the story. Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Kelly, for joining us. Chase Williams, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Tennessee suspended the Baptiste group's license to operate La Casa de Sydney after a sexual battery arrest. I mean, what's a couple of sexual battery arrests? I mean, just open it back up. Perpetrated against migrant children. A second arrest and a similar charge took place. So there's 2. We got 2. They were only supposed to have 100 kids, right? That's a bad batting average. We expect that to last well into the fall, if not further, Nichols said. There are no children there and can be no children there because of the stay. Senator Todd Gardenhire from Chattanooga reminded the group, now this is great. This is classic Todd Gardenhire. Classic Todd Gardenhire. If you're in Hamilton County and you voted for this guy, I bet you are very sorry you did. We expect that to, here's what he said. Senator Todd Gardenhire from Chattanooga reminded the group that he has 110 constituents who worked at the facility who will be unemployed until the court process is over and the home can be reopened. Well, how about all the other damn constituents that don't want an illegal immigration center sitting right here in their backyard? How about all those people, Todd? How about the kids being molested, Todd? How about the kids being lost, Todd? Ridiculous. Shameful. Run as a Democrat. Run as an independent, but don't run as a Republican if you're going to defend this stuff. Representative Scotty Campbell from Mountain City said, it upsets me that the taxpayers of this state are paying for services and we don't know what's going on, and that's damn right about what's happening. Thank you, Scotty. Next story. Legislators seek answers regarding billions with a B, which apparently doesn't make any difference anymore. We just spend whatever, your money, who cares? We'll just inflate it so much that all the money you save won't be worth anything. Lawmakers, Karen, thank you for joining us. David, I appreciate you. Lawmakers are questioning billions of dollars of deals that the state made after the Governor Lee's executive order. Oh, look, another thing right after Governor Lee's executive order. In response to the pandemic, gave departments permission to enter into contracts without taking bids. Why would you take a competitive bid with taxpayer money? Why? Why would you do that? Todd Gardenhire has been at the forefront of the probe as the chairman of the Fiscal Review Committee. Now look, here's what I don't get about Todd. He'll go after stuff that I'm all about, on money. But then all this other stuff, he's just weak and wimpy on. School choice, weak and wimpy. Illegal immigration, weak and wimpy. Money, looking into it. He's been asking department heads to come before the committee with an explanation of why they feel that no bid contracts are necessary and calling out their failure to comply with Senate rules regarding the submission of financial information to the Fiscal Review members. I don't get this. You run as a Republican, be a Republican on all things, not part of the things, or at least most of them. I can have a tiff with people occasionally and get right back on board with them because you're going to disagree sometimes, right? Am I right? Nabin, thank you. Eric Miller, I appreciate you coming on here. But I'm like, good grief. According to Gardenhire, the no-bid spending has occurred across a number of state departments on everything from janitorial services to mask and reading programs. Now listen, I can understand maybe having like a no-bid contract for something that's super-duper specialized. Janitorial services ain't one of them. Here's what Todd says. What I'm trying to accomplish in the future is what the legislature need to do to make sure that even under pandemic type emergency, we have guardrails in place. You know what would be a good guardrail? Get rid of those executive orders. You got the Senate, Todd. Y'all take your power back. How about that? That'd be a good guardrail. Closed circuit transmission. In place to protect the millions we have and the things are done right. Thank you, Todd Gardenhire, for doing that. Slow clap. That's good work. He is hoping to see changes in the Emergency Powers Act, which granted permission for the Lee administration and officials to go into no-bid contracts without the normal procedures. I think we're starting to see a pattern here. Does anybody know what the patterns are? Let's not do a bunch of executive orders. Let's not have things outside of the normal processes. This is no longer an emergency. We know what's going on. This is damn near business as usual now. Next one. Concert promoter discriminates against COVID-19 survivors with natural immunity. Promoters of the upcoming Moon River Festival in 2021 say they will require that those that in attendance be fully vaccinated or have a negative COVID-19 test from the last 72 hours. You know what I really like? I'm a big live music fan. You know what I really like? I really love it when music venues want to make health decisions for me. I love it. It makes me really want to go to those concerts. I love it when people infringe upon my privacy and my medical information to go hear music outside. That is great. I mean, that is a winning strategy. I don't know who came up with this, but I think that's a winner. You know what? People that are all worried about crap like this and live their lives in complete and utter fear, you know where they're not going to go? A damn concert that's crowded. So I think what you only do probably is you just piss off your market. I need to watch my language. My wife tells me all the time, I'm sorry. Jenny, thank you for joining us. Shelly, I appreciate you being here. So according to information on their website, festival organizers are mandating that negative testing requirements for all attendants, including minors. Yeah, I'd love to have my kids have something shoved up their nose before they can come listen to music. That's fantastic. I mean, I should pay extra for that. Back to the story. The group is not offering refunds for those who do not want to comply with the new regulations. I hope they get together, and I hope they sue the britches off of them to where it's not profitable. Refunds are only being issued for those who tested positive within 72 hours prior to the festival who were positive. Oh, I see. It's really just about the money, right? Yeah. Bad luck. Next one. Maryville event venue closes its door to Freedom Matters Tour. Now, I'm going to be, and I'll be getting some information out there, so maybe you can come. I'll be emceeing the Freedom Matters Tour in Knoxville and Chattanooga. So I hope that some of you will come see me. My thought is that Gary Humble has a hard H. I always want to call him Humble. That Gary Humble is only having me there because so he can look taller and better looking. But you know what? You take what you can get when you look like me. You just keep moving on. A popular Maryville event venue has withdrawn their agreement to host an event featuring speakers promoting the ideals of freedoms and liberty in America. The Freedom Matters Tour, organized by Tennessee Stands, was slated to be held on August 18th at the Shed. Sounds like a really tough bar. Located beside the Smoky Mountain Harley-Davidson, venue representatives said it did not give a clear reason for the cancellation. Tanya Brown, marketing director of Smoky Mountain Motor family of dealerships, was asked several times why the event was canceled. Her only reply was to send the same statement twice, and our mission has never changed, which is to provide our community with a fun, safe place to grow bonds and motorcycling, enjoy and exceptional food. The Shed website states, whatever you look to do, we can accommodate. It doesn't seem to be the case. If you're talking about freedoms and liberties, if you're talking about the fact that we need to, it used to be like live free or die. It used to be kind of like a motorcycle thing. You'd see it on the back of people's vest. You'd see it tattooed on their arms. Apparently now, Harley-Davidson is conform or be canceled. Maybe Harley-Davidson should change the logo. Conform or be canceled. Maybe that'd be a good one. Tennessee Stands tweeted, apparently, hearing from constitutional experts, a former UN ambassador, and elected officials is just stirring up too much trouble for this tough biker club. Might just be a bunch of accountants on motorcycles. Back to this story. Hamilton County Curriculum Review reveals widespread CRT allergy. Back up again. Let's try that again. Hamilton County Curriculum Review reveals widespread CRT ideologies. Stop my beating heart. Who would have thought that these educators would be wasting their student and their teachers' times focused on things that don't matter? Good grief. I expect this. After hearing parents express concerns about what is being taught in public schools, Moms for Liberty of Hamilton County has coordinated a curriculum review. According to Moms for Liberty, they first requested information for the Hamilton County School District regarding the curriculum as being taught in English, language, and arts. Volunteers read through and are currently still reading through the curriculum and the materials to check for inappropriate and concerning items. Moms for Liberty in Hamilton County stated, we expected to find a couple of objectionable books, short stories, etc. We'd request to have those replaced, but what we found was much deeper and more widespread, and they sent me a bunch of this stuff to look at, and it's trash. Mike Pompeo called it this week garbage. Again, if our kids could read and write, if they could do basic math, if they knew anything about our history, you might give these guys a little bit of a pass. And you still wouldn't want it taught, but you give them a little bit of pass. But when they're so far behind and when we're failing our kids so miserably, we really don't need these distractions. We don't need mass distractions. We don't need vaccination debate distractions. We don't need CRT distractions. We don't need transgender athlete distractions. We need good old fundamental log cabin, piece of chalk and a piece of slate basics. Because they taught kids to read, write, and do essays on the Iliad and Odyssey back in the 1800s in the 4th and 5th grade. And now we've got kids that graduate after 13 years that can't punctuate a sentence. We have dumbed down what we expect for our children in Tennessee schools, and it's shameful. Guys, that's the Big 7. I hope you enjoyed it. Emily, thank you for coming. Better late than never. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Do share this, guys. Facebook tends to suppress conservative content. Perish the thought. They do. And so if you go and share this, it really helps us fight against that. And also, guys, costs a lot of money to run this organization. I just get it out of my own hip pocket. I don't make any money doing this. I've got another job that I do. And so if you go to TennesseeConservativeNews.com/support and you give any amount, and I need your money, I'm not going to soft pedal it here. We got reporters to pay, subscribers to acquire. If you go to TennesseeConservativeNews.com, I'll give you 2 proud Tennessee Conservative bumper stickers. If you've given before, give again. Give monthly. Really helps. I don't care if it's $5. And when you do that, you'll also get our handy-dandy directory that has Randy McNally's phone number on it, which I would encourage you to dial and ask him for a special session so that they can reclaim their status as a co-equal branch of government. We'll send you this fantastic directory so you can contact your legislators when very important things like CRT and masking are being taught in our schools. We need to stop it, and when we have lawless executive orders. And if you get $50 or more, you will get this Proud Tennessee Conservative mug. And if you put Randy McNally's level of courage in here, which might wet the bottom, of this glass. We really need him to step up right now. I mean, he may have had it in the past, but he doesn't be displaying much of it right now. And if you closed it up, and you open it up, he would have enough courage to call for a special session, because this thing has magical properties, I promise. Brandon Lewis with Tennessee Conservative News. This is your TennCon Big 7. Do stay tuned for that Lee Greenwood video that's going to come out, and I hope to see some of you at the Freedom Matters event, the tour. It's going to be in Knoxville and also in Chattanooga, actually north of Chattanooga. So I will be emceeing that, so come by and say hey to me. I'm looking forward to doing it. I think it's, if you just type into the IntraTube Freedom Matters Tour, you'll pull that puppy up. Brandon Lewis with the Tennessee Conservative News. Finally, okay, you thought you were going to get away. I got one last thing. Some of you watch this on Facebook, but you do not subscribe to our newsletter, which to me is a heinous crime against conservatism, because you never know. They could shut us down at any moment. So please do go to TennesseeConservativeNews.com and subscribe to our newsletter. We'll send you an email, an occasional text. Maybe once a week you get a text, and it's typically an interview or some kind of like, hey, you need to call somebody. If I hear something and it's really important, I may text you and say, hey, make a phone call if you care about your freedom and your liberty. So that may happen too. But Brandon Lewis here, I love you guys. I appreciate your prayers. I appreciate your support. I appreciate your encouragement. I appreciate you sharing, because it's tough work doing this when you're when you're going up against people with lots of money, lots of political power, to try to do what's right, because I know what conservatives want in Tennessee, and I know how they feel. But sometimes we've got folks that are in this bubble up in Nashville, or a bubble in city government, or a bubble in county government, and we really have to break through that bubble so that they hear us loud and clear. We're trying to get the message out. We're trying to bring everybody together in Tennessee so they can get the news from an outlet that will actually get in there and grind it and work it. So thank you, Emily. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Todd. Thank you all for joining us here. Do leave your comments if you watch this after it's been recorded about what you think of these stories. Still tell me where you're from. I like to know where you're listening from. And if you get a good news tip, email us news@TennesseeConservativeNews.com. If I don't shut up now, I won't get the rest of my work done, and I got to go meet my smoking hot wife to go look at this house we're building. And we're going to go on a date night, which I'm kind of excited about. So, somebody's watching the kids. Hope you all have a great weekend. I'll talk to you next time. Love you, mean it. Bye-bye, guys.